If we want everyone to have a fair test with their success and college career, we must get rid of the standardized testing. I'm going to share with you everything that's wrong with the standardized testing, how it ruins creativity in the classroom, how teachers can't teach effectively, and how it's so easy to game the system, and also how the wealthier get a head start and the people with less money have to work harder to catch up. Imagine you're 16 years old and you've been working your entire life to get straight A's, keep a 4.0 GPA, and you're at the top of your class. And then it comes time to take the ACT or the SAT. You've been working your entire life for this test and to be at the top of your grade because you come from a poor family that can't afford to send you to college. Therefore, you have to get high test scores. But because you come from a poor family, you can't afford prep test class. You don't go to private school. You can't get all the extra help a richer student can get. And so when you're going up against the wealthier students, you're not going to score as high, most likely. Which doesn't seem fair, and that's just one of the many reasons we should get rid of this. The ACT and SAT are ruining how teachers teach. It takes away the creativity because they've learned that they must teach the test. Because the higher the scores you get, the better it is for the teacher and the school. Therefore, they worry less about actually getting the student to enjoy learning, but more about how well they're memorizing the facts. So honestly, it ruins the school experience. And if students don't get high scores, they can even fear losing their job. And so they don't go above and beyond, but they do the bare minimum and make sure the students are memorizing the information rather than actually understanding it. It's also that ACT and SAT neglect nonverbal learning. It undermines the arts, performing arts, music. That's not part of the ACTs. So teachers are teaching the tests, teaching memorizing skills, and you just learn to do the bare minimum, which is no way a teacher should be teaching or how students should be learning, because that's not cultivating a passion for learning, which students should have. You also get none to little feedback on these ACTs and SATs. You know what you did good on and what you did bad on, but that won't help in the classroom. That just kind of lets you know what you're good at and what you're bad at, but the teachers can't use this information to actually help a student become better and succeed more. So next we're going to move on about how the wealthier succeed more in these tests. It's for many reasons, but maybe it's because the richer students can afford the prep classes. They go to private school where there's smaller classrooms and the teachers are paid more money, which means they'll spend more time helping students one-on-one be able to understand what they're not understanding. These students can also afford tutoring, which is a big help when it comes to a big test like the ACT and the ACT. Also, this is, less directly about the ACT or SAT, but wealthier students are actually more likely to be diagnosed with learning disabilities. And this gives them an advantage because in big tests like the ACT or SAT, they can get more time or special help during these tests, which poor students who may not be diagnosed with these learning disabilities wouldn't get that. You can have all the money in the world and you can take all of the prep classes you want, but let's say you have crippling anxiety, and as soon as you pick up that pencil, all the information leaves your brain because you're so nervous. I mean, who wouldn't be? Your whole future rides on this test. And that's just another reason this test isn't, as much as people hype it up to, it's not as helpful, because you can be the smartest student in the world, but you pick up that pencil and you get super anxious and you just forget everything you've been memorizing and learning for the past few years. There's so much riding on these tests. Your whole future is at stake. college, a career. If you want to be a doctor, you have to get into one of the top schools in America, and then you have to get into medical schools, and the ACT and the SAT scores affect college choices greatly. It's the gateway to success in the future, if that's the type of success you want. And it just doesn't seem fair that one test has so much riding on it. Thankfully, during this pandemic, a lot of schools waived the ACTs or SATs, but they still hold scholarships. You have to have a certain scores to get certain scholarships, which, you know, if a poor student doesn't get a certain scholarship, then can they even afford to go to school? Because there's limits on how much you can borrow. It all adds up on each other, and it's just more and more reason we need to get rid of these tests. Students stop wanting to learn the information. There's so much writing on these tests. Students will go to any length just to get high scores. So they'll learn strategies, always pick the same letter if you're unsure. They worry more about the memorizing and less about the learning. And it's not only the students that will go to far lengths to succeed, but even the parents. They'll help the student cheat to get high scores. I mean, we've seen it in the media. Famous people have been paying kids to take their child's ACT and SATs to secure a spot for them in a high top university. Students have learned that if you take the test in the West Coast, East Coast students have already taken it, so a lot of times the answers will be online. There's numerous ways to cheat on this test, and it's just a lot of times it doesn't actually show how much a student knows, but how well they can gain the system almost, or how well a parent can gain the system. This test is no longer effective. It does not show true knowledge. The wealthier start at a higher advantage because they have more given to them. They have more opportunities. They can afford more chances. Maybe the wealthier get to take the test over and over again because the fee to take it isn't a burden to them. It doesn't show real knowledge. It doesn't show how much a student actually knows. It's easy to cheat, and it gets in the way of real learning. You don't learn as much in the classroom in high school because teachers are so hyper-focused on making sure you do well on these tests because it looks good on the school and it looks good on the teacher. And that's just one of the many reasons that these tests should be getting rid of, because all the reasons I just said, and I'm not here saying none of the students that earn high grades don't deserve them. A lot of them do deserve their scores, but not all of them do. Some cheat to get the scores. The wealthier get a head start over the poorer students, and one test should not have so much power over a student's future. They're 16 and 17 years old when they're taking this test, but it's going to affect their at least the next 4 years of their life, because it affects scholarship money, it affects the school you get into. So no test should have this much power, but instead look at the student's GPA, which is a full picture of their 4 years in high school. Look at their work experience, look at their volunteer experience. How have they helped their community? What matters to them? How well of a writer are they? There's many other things you can put above this test that show how the knowledge a student has and how well-rounded they are as a person. Thank you.